All right, we are with Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. Always a pleasure when you come home, sir. Thanks for joining us.
Jeff, great to be with you. Great to be home.
Didn't get a chance to visit with you too much during the shutdown.
Yeah, it was a busy time, longest shutdown in U.S. history. It was a real shame, We operated in good faith the entire time. What we were trying to do is just extend the regular appropriations process. The end of the fiscal year for the country is September 30th. We ran out of time on the clock. So the appropriators, the Democrats and Republicans, got together and said, give us 7 more weeks and we'll finish the process. And we did that. And the response Chuck Schumer sent back, as you saw, was to spend $1.5 trillion additional dollars. And included in that was given about $200 billion back to fund health care for illegal aliens, which is not part of our system. And they wanted to send a bunch of money to foreign projects overseas, social programs, and restore money for the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. We said, we're not doing that. This is a simple 7-week stopgap funding measure. So at the end of the day, after it was all said and done, they got absolutely nothing out of it, but they admitted they were using the American people as leverage to score political points. And it was shameful, but at the end, the polling showed most people understood what we were doing and why.
How frustrating was it for you every day to go out there and make the speech? We saw you every day, doing an update.
Yes, yes.
And then, of course, you were everywhere on network television. You got to be a real TV personality.
Yeah, that was not my goal. The reason we went out every morning, the reason we had to do so many interviews is to make sure the American people understood the simple facts. A lot of the mainstream media, to be honest, was parroting the talking points of Chuck Schumer and the Democrats, and they were false. And so we had to go out every morning and reset it and do all the interviews and go into all the networks. But it's a funny thing about it. When you have the simple truth on your side, you can talk endlessly. You just represent it. The American people are smart. Ronald Reagan used to remind us, you can trust the American people to make good judgment. But our job is to give them the facts so that they can, and that's what we were trying to do. I think we accomplished that.
How badly do you think Louisiana got hurt by the shutdown?
Well, we limited a lot of the pain, thankfully. Governor Landry and the legislature worked very well. For example, on SNAP benefits, they were trying to fill the stopgap and get that done. We'll get it reimbursed to the state. But it's good to have partners, Republican governorship and conservative legislators who work and want to make sure we mitigate and limit the damage to the American people as much as possible. The president bent over backwards to do his best, and I think ultimately we got the troops paid, we got most of the SNAP benefits delivered, in spite of the fact that Democrats were trying to stop all that. Remember, they voted 16 times. Democrats in Congress voted 16 times to keep the government closed. And we, on the other hand, Republicans voted that many times to open it.
What are the odds this is going to happen again in January?
Small, because we're working through the appropriations process. We've got 3 of the appropriations bills done in the bill that reopened the government. The president signed that. We've got 9 left. And we are working in bipartisan fashion to get all of those done, get them through the process, signed into law, so that there won't be anything to shut the government down over. I think we can get at least 9 of them. I'm hoping we can get all 12. If there's anything left at the end of the day, we'll have to do another, probably a year-long CR, continuing resolution on that. But it won't be anything like troop pay and TSA agents, Border Patrol agents, and SNAP benefits and all the rest. We got all that covered.
All right, very good. All right, we're going to wrap up this live portion of the interview with the speaker and kick it back down to Nate Fluharty, but our conversation will continue. And that'll be online a little bit later on. And of course, we'll be playing excerpts from the interview with the speaker on our newscast throughout the day on KTBS 3. Nate, back to you. Okay, Mike, we're going to continue recording here. And let's, I'm just jumping all around here. And of course, one of the big things was that health insurance during the shutdown.
Yes.
So what realistically can be done to get insurance premiums lowered and help out the American people?
Well, a very important thing to remember is that the Democratic Party broke American health care. They passed the Obamacare, the Unaffordable Care Act, we call it, back in 15 years ago. And when they passed that law, they got 0 Republican votes because we understood what would happen. This was inevitable, that premiums would skyrocket because they broke the health care system, the way insurance worked and all the rest. So we're seeing the obvious and foreseeable effects of that. And so Democrats' response is not to fix the root problems of it. They want us to continue to subsidize it, meaning they want to take taxpayer dollars and throw it at a broken system over and over and over. That does nothing to reduce costs. They just continue to rise. At this point, they are subsidizing insurance companies directly, and we can't be a part of that. If the COVID-era subsidy, which is an extension, it's an extra amount they put on top, if we were going to continue that, extended in some way where there'd have to be real reforms. We've got to get to the root causes of the problem. So there's a big contrast in Washington right now. Democrats are trying to prop up a broken system that they broke with 0 Republican votes, and we're trying to fix the system. We have real common sense ideas on how to do that. We've already enacted some, but we need Democrats to come along with us to help us on the rest of it.
What do you think of Senator Cassidy's proposal with the health savings accounts, putting money directly into those?
Yeah, we all support HSA expansion. The president does, and Senator Cassidy's done a good job with some good ideas there. There are a lot of ideas on the table. We've already demonstrated that we know how to reduce costs. For example, in the One Big Beautiful Bill, the Working Families Tax Cut, we put in some reforms to strip out fraud, waste, and abuse, and to get ineligible recipients off of, for example, the Medicaid rolls. That brought premiums down. That included illegal aliens and young, able-bodied men without dependents. And when we took them off the program, the CBO said it saved taxpayers $185 billion and brought the premiums down. Now, we would have done even more in the Big Beautiful Bill, Working Families Tax Cut, but the Democrats in the Senate voted to strip it out. When the bill that came from the House that I passed and sent over to them had additional savings. We had the cost sharing reduction program, which the CBO said would limit or reduce premiums for the average American family by 12.7%. That would have been a big thing, another big step forward, but the Democrat senators stripped it out of the bill. So look, we've got to continue. We know how to do it. Expansion of HSAs is one. We need to reform the PBM process because it's driven cost up exponentially. There's a lot of ideas. The cost sharing reduction program we want to try another shot at, and many other ideas. So what you'll see in the coming weeks is Republicans in Congress and the House and Senate working together to try to advance these ideas and pull some of our Democrat friends along. The challenge I have every day on healthcare and everything else is I have a tiny razor-thin majority.
You do.
1 or 2 votes on any given day. So we have to have Democrats, some common sense Democrats, to come along and help in order to fix these problems.
That leads me into 2 questions. First of all, your razor-thin margin. You're losing another, Marjorie Taylor Greene. That was kind of a surprise announcement, wasn't that?
It was to all of us. I mean, she's been, unhappy for years. That's no surprise. But I try to work with Marjorie. I consider her a friend, and when she has concern, I bring her in and talk her through. One of her big complaints was that she has not, many of her personal pieces of legislation have not passed through the system. And part of the reason for that is that, the legislative body, any legislative body, is a team sport,
Sure.
And you've got to build relationships and credibility and all that with your colleagues if you want them to help advance your priorities. And Marjorie has always been one that kind of went lone wolf, and so that makes it difficult.
Yeah.
But the bills that she has passed through the House, I'm the speaker that put them on the floor, so she'll go and do something else, and more power to her. We'll fill that seat with another Republican, and we'll do it quickly. We're in communication with Governor Kemp in Georgia, and he'll call a special election quickly. So I'm not too concerned about it.
Okay, very good. Now I'm going to flip-flop back to prices. And of course, everybody's complaining about the prices of groceries and everything, really. So any plans to get these down? How do you work on something like that?
Yeah, we got big plans to do it. We have been doing that. When we passed the Working Families Tax Cut, which was signed into law July 4th, many of the provisions of that giant bill will be implemented in January and going forward. So by the end of the first quarter of next year, tens of millions of American families are going to be feeling that positive influence and the greater take-home pay. The average American family is estimated to get over $10,000 in additional take-home pay because of the reforms we put in. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime. We got tax relief for 50 million seniors. And then what we did for the business community and the job creators is enormous because we've allowed for bonus depreciation and write-off so that if a small business owner wants to invest and expand and add new jobs and increase wages, if they build a new manufacturing facility, for example, they can write it off immediately. So that's going to fuel, like jet fuel to the economy, and wages are going to continue to rise. Right now, we have the highest wage growth in years, and we're holding inflation flat and beginning to bring it down. Remember, we're coming out of the Biden years, Bidenomics, where they had massive government spending and massive government overreach. So we're restoring common sense, but it takes a while to dig out of those policies and prop up the new things. And we're going to continue to work that to bring prices down.
Well, I know that gas has gone down some, and everybody was complaining about the price of eggs a while back. They've gone down a little bit, so it is happening.
It is happening. Individual commodities all have different variables, but we have the lowest gas prices we've had in 4 years. The national average is below $3 right now, and in many states it's hovering around $2.50. That's an extraordinary thing. And by the way, Louisiana is in the middle of this American energy dominance, restoring American energy. Over 2/3 of the liquefied natural gas exports come out of our state. We're in the center of that renaissance. And the president and Republicans in Congress are driving that because we understand American energy dominance equals national security. I mean, energy security is national security. So we'll continue to work on that. But all these commodity prices, eggs were brought down back to common sense levels. You've got coffee and commodities like strawberries and all these fruits and everything. The president is dialing down those tariffs with the new trade agreements. And I think this is going to inure to everybody's benefit. So I think, again, in the coming weeks and months, in the early part of the year, we're going to be in a very different economic situation with a lot more growth, and wages will go up, inflation stays low, more jobs created. It's a better thing for everybody.
A lot of people are going to be very happy to hear all of the things you just said.
Yes.
I don't want to talk about the Epstein files at all, other than I want to ask you one question. Were you surprised that the only no vote came from Louisiana?
I was a little bit surprised about that. Look, the reason that we did it in as large a number as we did is because we were always for maximum transparency. But what I and the president and others were insistent upon is that we protect the victims. And the discharge petition, as it's known, was recklessly drafted, and many legal experts looked at that and said, my goodness, you're not going to protect the women who have already suffered great harm. Some of their identities can be unmasked and all this. And so we wanted to make sure that that was protected. But they got through the process. The files will be released. The Department of Justice is in the process of that. And importantly, the House Oversight Committee was already doing their own investigation, and they had been doing it for months because I'm the one that put them on it. And they had subpoenas that responded to now over 50,000 pages of Epstein file documents out into the public. Some of this has been out there for a while, but that transparency is important. As we were talking earlier, Ronald Reagan said, trust the American people, give them the facts, and let them decide. They'll be able to do that now.
I want to ask you about Zoran Mamdani and his election to be the next mayor of New York City, and his meeting with the president the other day. Was it different than what you expected, that meeting?
It was. I've talked to the president about that a little bit. I regard Zoran Mamdani as being a great threat to our republic, and I mean that sincerely. He is an avowed and open Marxist, a socialist, and he is inspiring that in other candidates. Socialism is a great evil. I mean, every nation that's tried it has failed. And it has led ultimately Marxism to the murder of tens of millions of innocent people in the 20th century alone. We do not want to go down that path. A government that's large enough to give you everything for free, as he claims, is also large enough to take all your freedom away. And that's always what happens. And a lot of young people who are being swept into this don't really understand it.
Well, I was going to just ask, why do you think young people don't I just get the feeling they want the government to be their mommy and daddy and take care of them forever.
Well, they do. Look, the founders of our great republic, we're going to celebrate our 250th anniversary next year, and we're still an experiment in self-governance. But the framers, the founders that put all this together, they warned us against that kind of thought, that you've got to have a limited government and expanded individual freedom. That's the dynamic, all wrapped in the rule of law and a basic moral consensus to hold a constitutional republic together. When you get into the business of the government providing everything for free for someone, you have to remember the government, Uncle Sam doesn't have a dollar of his own. He cannot give it to somebody unless he takes it from someone else. And when you get into all the redistribution of wealth and all that, it never ends because you destroy incentive. The people who work hard to earn and provide jobs, if you stifle that, they won't have any incentive to do it anymore, and then everything begins to crash. You're going to see, I think, terrible results in New York City in a short amount of time, because if he's able to do anything that he's promising there, Mayor Mamdani, it'll be a disaster for the city and the country ultimately.
People have to be educated on the evils of this socialism, right?
They do, and we've got a couple generations of American school children who have not been fully informed about all this. Civics education has been reduced, and history for that matter. And we have to know our history or it will be repeated, and that's a great concern of all of ours.
Listen, I know you have to think big picture in your current role, but anything you're working on for the good of your district or the state of Louisiana?
Constantly. I mean, Louisiana's punching way above our weight limit.
Yes.
We've never had a Speaker of the House from Louisiana. No state has ever had the top two leaders in Congress at the same time in the House. So I'm the Speaker, and Steve Scalise from New Orleans area is the Majority Leader. And he and I and the rest of our delegation are working around the clock to deliver for Louisiana. Louisiana is going to benefit greatly by all these pro-growth provisions we put into the Working Families Tax Cut. and the things that we have going forward. We're going to be working on the cost of living, the affordability agenda. The Republican Party is the ones that believe in free market principles, and Louisiana benefits as well as anybody. Look at, we were talking about the energy renaissance.
Right.
Louisiana obviously is perfectly situated for that. We're getting data centers built in our state. We're in Louisiana. We're in D.C. every day, selling the merits of Louisiana. Hardworking people, the best natural resources of any state, the best culture, the best food. It's a friendly environment, and we have a governor and legislature who are working hard on pro-growth policies again. You put all that together, and Louisiana's positioned for a lot of growth and expansion. And I love being a salesman for Louisiana because we've got a lot to sell.
Yeah. Well, I know Meta's putting in a big center around the Monroe area. Any ideas or plans for more of those in Louisiana?
We talk about that all the time. I've gotten built relationships with the tech giants, the people who run all these great companies, and we're using Meta as an example and saying, you too can do this. All over the state, Louisiana is perfectly situated. The data centers need energy inputs, right? So you can't choose a better location geographically on the whole planet, I argue, than Louisiana. And they put it there in a rural area in northeast Louisiana, but we can duplicate that around the state, and we're going to need it because these data centers generate all the advancement of AI and everything else. Yeah. And Louisiana's poised and ready to do this.
The drug boats, the situation in Venezuela.
Yep.
Your thoughts on that, and will any of the B-52s from Barksdale ever play a role in this?
Well, I don't expect that the B-52s will, but it's a show of force down there. The president believes, as I do, that we maintain peace through strength. That's a Reagan principle, peace through strength, and we've demonstrated that. America, after the president got elected, after President Trump returned to the White House, it was a 180-degree turn. Our allies around the world had disrespected us for the last 4 years, and our enemies were empowered, and now you see the opposite. Our enemies have taken note. China, Russia, Iran, North Korea. They recognize that America is the strongest last superpower on the earth, and that we're willing to use force if needed. We hope we never have to. But projecting and showing that strength, the B-52s being a central part of all that, is an important signal to people around the world. So I don't expect them to be engaged in combat in Venezuela in any way. The drug boats is an important thing. I sat down with Secretary of State Marco Rubio and all of our intelligence community in the confidential setting down in the SCIF, we call it. And he went through with me the rationale and the intelligence. And without sharing the classified part, I would just say, I am convinced this intelligence is exquisite, as we say. We know exactly who's in these boats, what they're carrying, and the great harm that it would cause to Americans. If you take out a boat full of fentanyl, or cocaine in this case, you save, with fentanyl, hundreds of thousands of American lives. And with these cocaine boats loaded up with cocaine, you're going to save thousands of American lives, each boat. And so the president is using this action to, again, to send a message. We want the cartels and the Venezuelans and anybody else, Colombians, to stop sending this stuff to poison our country. And he's showing a strong hand, and it's having the desired effect.
Talk a little bit about the midterms, fundraising, and redistricting in various states, especially Texas, I guess.
Yeah, look, I'm very bullish on the midterms. My job is to help ensure that we keep the House majority. If we lost the majority and this group of Democrats took over the House, it will be absolute chaos for every American. They will try to impeach President Trump on the first week of that new Congress in January 2027, and then try to unwind all the pro-growth policies and all the initiatives we've talked about today. It would be a disaster. So I'm very bullish. There's lots of reasons. I can give you a 90-minute slideshow, Jeff, on all the reasons that we're going to win their midterm, but it boils down to a couple of things. We had a true demographic shift in the 2024 election, so the Republican Party had more Hispanic and Latino voters, Black and African American voters, Jewish voters, union workers than ever before. I think we hold a lot of them. The Democrats are in free fall. They have their lowest approval rating in their party in the history of polling, literally, while ours is at the highest. And we have a fundraising advantage. We raise more money than they have over the third quarter of this year because people understand the stakes. We've got extraordinary candidates we've recruited to flip Democrat seats to Republican seats. And you have things like the Charlie Kirk effect, I call it, with young people getting involved and engaged, and they're on the conservative side, and they're going to be really involved in the midterm election next year. So we're really excited about this. I think we can grow the majority. And Jeff, if I can get a majority of more than one or two, it will be a dream to me. All right.
How about I know Tennessee, the District 7 in Tennessee, the Democrats are trying to flip that, right?
They are, but it's a red district, and it's a special election, so those are always strange. But that election day is December December 7th.
It's not exactly a great election date.
No,
right?
it's not, middle of a holiday, but we've got a great candidate there, Matt Van Epps. I was on the radio with him in his district yesterday, extolling his virtues and explaining why. He's a combat veteran and a father and a husband and a committed conservative, and he'll serve that district well. He's running against a pretty crazy Democrat. The lady who said, remember, Nashville is a big part of this district, and she said over and over she hates Nashville. She hates the state. She's for defunding the police. She's a Mamdani kind of disciple.
Right.
She wants big government spending and more taxes and all kinds of stuff. I think Matt Van Epps is going to win that special election, and we're delighted to have him join our team.
It's not exactly great campaign material, what you're talking about.
No, it's not, and they gave her opportunities in the last few weeks to reverse her statements, and she doubled down. I mean, it's kind of crazy, but this is the times we live in.
In Louisiana now, we're going to have some closed primaries for the first time since I've been in Louisiana. And we have no party voters now instead of independents. How does all that affect Louisiana?
We'll have to see. I mean, I like everybody else, has to run like we're 10 points behind, you know,
Gotcha.
and we'll appeal to the voters. But I tell you what, we have a lot to run on. The Republicans, and you know, as I've been Speaker, we've delivered for the people. We've delivered on our promises, and we're restoring common sense because we got away from that over the 4 years of the Biden-Harris administration. President Trump and the Republicans are bringing us back to that, and it's a great message to present to voters, and they understand it. Everywhere I go around the district, you know, people come up and give us a hug and pat us on the back and say, "Keep going. We know it's not an easy job, but you're doing a great one. Keep at it." So,
I got just a couple more questions for you, and we'll get you out of here because I know you got 8,000 other things to do today. Broadband is expanded. I think $1 billion have been allocated for broadband expansion in Louisiana. How important is that?
More than that, it's closer to $2 billion.
$2 billion.
And the broadband access program is something that the Biden administration instituted, but as everything with the Biden administration, it was bloated and inefficient and full of bureaucracy, and it wasn't producing results. So President Trump took that and we reformed it, saving billions of dollars for the taxpayers, but then redirecting it into actual access. So the estimate is by the time this is done, at least 80% of Louisianians will have high-speed internet, and we're on a tight timetable to do it. But Louisiana probably benefits as much or more than any state in that investment. It's going to be a big, big deal for us. Okay, the last thing I wanted to ask you then was, what do you think about Brian Kelly and his $54 million buyout and that whole situation? Well, I used to think Speaker of the House is the most stressful job in the world, and maybe it is, but SEC football coach is a close second. You've got to win every Saturday night or you're done. You know me, I'm a double alum from LSU, undergrad and law school, and I bleed purple and gold. We're a championship program, and I'm confident we'll get a championship caliber coach. So we're waiting anxiously. It's one of the few things I don't have my hands in because I don't have the bandwidth to be involved. I'm just praying and cheering it along. So it's President, Speaker of the House, and SEC football coach. Pretty much in that order. I think that's how I call it. That's it. All right, listen, thank you, Mike. Thanks a lot. Great
always a pleasure. Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, back in the home district, and we always have fun talking to the Speaker and getting informed and finding out what's going on. Mike, thanks again.
Thanks a lot, brother.
All right.